Hi, this is Coach Carey. I'm excited to introduce Real Talk, where I will be interviewing the top coaches, players, and sports personalities from our region. My hope is that you, the athlete, and your parents will benefit from these interviews in your quest to become a college athlete. Today I'm just thrilled to have a local guy right across the road here at Lansdale and North Penn High, John Striefsky. John's just a fairy tale story. Played for me in 2003 as a junior when we won the state title at North Penn. Did a great job as a kicker then, and John's going to tell us the story of not being recruited coming out of high school, walking on at Delaware, eventually winning the job and becoming a first-team All-American. John, thanks for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me, Coach. Appreciate it.
Why don't you just start us out a little bit. Tell me how you got into football. I know you're a really, really good athlete besides just a kicker. And where did you start? Did you start in midget football, or was it in the middle schools? And how did you progress into high school?
It's kind of a funny story to begin how I actually got into football. I had a gym teacher, Coach Jones, who is on the high school staff. And after gym class one day, he took me outside to hit field goals with him on the football field. And you know, at the time, it was fun, something cool to do, something cool to learn. But I guess I wasn't ready to really quit playing soccer, which I've been playing my whole life up to that point. And then a few years later, I got to high school. I started to realize that I liked soccer, but I kind of wanted to pursue some other interests. So I decided I wanted to come out for football. Talked with the coaches and everything, and they said, okay, well, when camp comes around, we'll give you a tryout and see how you do. Well, from that point on, it was probably about June of my junior year in high school. My parents and I went out to the local football field, and with a detergent cap as a tee, bought a few footballs, and my dad held for me, and my sister and my mom shattered footballs and threw them back. I guess from that day, it was kind of something different to do, definitely different. And my mom was worried, sick about me putting on pads, and at the time, I was only about 150 pounds, the same height I am now. So I was a rail compared to these other guys. It's definitely a different idea to think about your son getting drilled by a 250-pound linebacker in high school. But we went out there for a few weeks and we practiced. And when camp time rolled around, I was still kind of torn on the idea of do I want to play soccer and football, just soccer. So a few weeks into camp, I decided to stop playing soccer and just pursue football with 100% of my skills and ability. And went out this first few days, and they had a kicker in camp who already played the last 2 seasons. Actually, a friend of mine who I played soccer with growing up my whole life. We competed for a while, and the first 4 games I didn't play. But after that, I started to improve my consistency in practice. I hit a straight ball, and I was accurate from where we needed to be. I mean, that whole year you look at it, we kicked 1 field goal, made 2, and a lot of times we were kicking just extra points. And I had a good height on my ball, and was just same solid stroke all the time. And just took it from there, one day at a time, and just kind of fought my way in the starting rotation, and just tried to never let it go.
Right. Yeah, my expectations are very clear. You were a junior that year, and it was my first year coaching at North Penn. And as you know, we had a great run, had a lot of great athletes. We ended up winning the Suburban 1 title, then winning the district title in the Eastern Finals, and then winning the whole thing, which was quite a thrill. But I remember you and Cornock was the other guy's name. He was the kicker, he did the kickoffs, and of course you did the field goals and extra points. Then you get into your senior year at North Penn. I know you and me talked. I got out of coaching that year, went into the radio box, and you had aspirations at that point of really improving. You really took to football. You wanted to be the all-around kicker, the extra point field goal and kickoff guy, and really wanted to be recruited. And at the end of that year, you had a very, very good year. But at the end of that year, the interesting thing is you weren't recruited at all Division I wise. Tell us about how you came about going to Delaware when, as you and me had talked, you had opportunities at Division II and Division III, and you made that choice to go to Delaware and walk on. I think it's really intriguing how you hadn't been to the campus until the first day you went down to school. Very unusual situation.
Usually you hear from most kids that are playing college sports, they had all these great times in their recruiting visits and went out and saw the campus, met all the coaches and all the older players and everything, met girls on campus, the things you want to see to have kids drawn in. I didn't really do much of that at all. I saw 2 campuses, and it was kind of on my own. My parents took me down to the city to see Penn, and at the time I was getting a little bit of interest from Columbia, just because I had friends that played there for North Penn already. Mike Partain was giving me a little bit of help. And I went up there and I saw that at school, just walked around the city and everything. And I was fortunate too also, my sister played a soccer tournament that summer in North Carolina. And I just went to see what Duke and North Carolina were like. So that was the extent of my college touring, really. I didn't see much. But I guess when it all came down to it, I applied to schools, about 8 or 9 different ones, as most seniors do. And when it came time to choose, Delaware was probably my best choice that I got accepted to. At the time, it was my safety school, and I really never saw it, like I said. But I had friends that were going there, I was applying, and when it all came down to it, they had me apply because they talked me into it, and I was the one that got in. So they didn't even get in. So I'm thinking at this point, I'm going down. I know there's a couple older guys. Zach Thomas used to play there. Jim Castretano was there from the team in 03. So I had some kind of contact at least with football. But I got down there, found out I got in, saw the campus for the first time during summer orientation. So I'm walking around, I remember driving down Main Street, and I stopped at a local shop and said, where's the University of Delaware? I have to be there for orientation in an hour. And the guy's like, well, you're here. You're in it. So at the time, I'm sitting out on Main Street, walking around, trying to find where I'm going and everything. And that afternoon, I called my dad and I said, well, Dad, I'm here. Let's see if they need a kicker for football. I mean, I'm sure they have it. It's Division I. You don't just, recruit kids off the street. It doesn't happen very, very often. So I went down to the stadium, walked in, met one of the coaches and said, I'm really interested in walking on the team here. And from that point, it was more of a numbers game. So you're looking at how many guys do they have. It was the first year they were going to bring in a scholarship freshman kicker in the history of the program. Really highly rated kid, someone who they thought was going to be a starter for the next 4 years. I said, okay, you know what? I've seen battles like this before. When I walked on North Penn, you look at a kid that the coaches were in love with for power of the leg, and it comes to the point of, well, what can I offer you that you don't already have? And you start thinking about different ways that you can, distinguish yourself from the other guys that are there. Well, I gave them my tape, waited for a call a week later, and I guess they liked what they saw. Man, it really didn't hurt that we were so successful in the 2003 year, even my senior year. And we put up a lot of points, and I got a lot of opportunities as a kid. So I showed up at school the first day, and these guys have already gone through camp. And you're looking at a team, now that I've been there for 4 years, you see how much bonding and how much chemistry is made during those first 3 weeks of camp. And this is a kid, as a kind of walking in as a kicker, so you're already kind of getting a bad rap because you're not a position player. But you walk in to a locker room, it's already filled with guys that know each other, guys that have sweated together all summer, worked out together, and you say, okay, well, I'm here to play. Well, what kind of work have you put in? Why should they respect you? Why should they do anything with you? Well, I was fortunate enough to get the chance to go out and practice the first week. And you look at it from the standpoint of, okay, well, it might be hard making friends or at least, getting some respect early, but you got to pay your dues, and it happens to all the kids. Went in that locker room and, just kept quiet, talked to the guys I wanted to talk to, learn what I needed to learn, and let my performance do, my talking for me.